Hello guys and welcome back to another video. In this video I'll be showing you how to make an OBBY skip stage system, and this is going to be coming off from our previous video, the OBBY checkpoints system. So again, make sure to watch that video before looking at this one, as it's going to be like a sort of add-on to that video. So you need to already have coded that before doing this, as it won't be covering that entire system. The video for that will be linked in the description below. Before you begin, if you need any help with any of this or just want the actual source code for it, so you can just copy and paste it in, make sure to join our Discord server. The link for that will also be in the description. We're really friendly and we'll be able to help you with any issues you have. So this video again, we'll be showing you how to do the skip stage system. It's really easy to demonstrate, so just press the skip stage button and we skip to the next stage automatically. Let's say if you press it and then press cancel, it's going to say purchase failed, and let's say if you press it, just go to the next one, and we press skip stage again, it will say you've reached the highest stage and won't let you skip any forward. So it's a perfect system for your OBBY game. Again, I'll be showing you how to make it in this video. Okay, so I've now just popped into our Roblox studio world. If you don't remember this from our last video, the OBBY checkpoints basic video, that's absolutely fine. So basically you have your checkpoints in a folder named checkpoint, and they have to be named the checkpoint number. So checkpoint number 1 has to be named checkpoint 1 here, checkpoint number 2 has to be named checkpoint 2, and checkpoint number 3 has to be named checkpoint 3, and so on. And then you also have the script in server script service. Now again, you need to watch that video before watching this one, as we're not going to be explaining how to write the script or explain any explanations behind any of the logic. We are going to be explaining how to do the skip stage system in this video as an add-on to that system. The first thing we're going to have to do is we're actually going to have to create the skip stage button. Now I'm going to put mine here, you can put yours wherever you like, there, up there, wherever. Now to display anything like that on the client, the first thing you are going to need is a screen GUI. Put that in starter GUI and insert a frame. Again, I'm going to drag my frame wherever I like and resize it. Now it's important that you go over here and change these size values to use scale, not offset. So offset is basically the number of pixels your screen has and positioning that based on positioning the frames based on the number of pixels you have. So let's say my screen is 2000 pixels across, 1000 this way, just as an example. You can position that with the offset. However, let's say if you've got a mobile device, then it's going to have a lot less pixels, so it'll be a different position or different size on your screen. So what scale does is it's a percentage, well not percentage, so 0 will be nothing, 1 will be the whole screen, the whole width, whole height of your screen. So that basically lets you proportionally change the size depending on the size of the screen, which is really useful as it lets us easily size UI objects like this. So again, I've moved it to scale, and I've positioned it also in scale because position also has a scale factor. The next thing I'm going to do, sorry for the rant there, is I'm going to change the frame background color and insert a UI corner. I'm just going to make that a little bit more pronounced corner. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to insert the actual text button. So let's say if you wanted to make a different UI system, you don't like the looks of mine, that's fine. However, you are still going to have a UI text button, and we're going to be writing a script in here later on in the video. So it's fine. Just basically, you need to use the text button still, and have to put the script inside the text button. Now you might notice I am actually using offset here That's because it's only moving by 10 pixels to give this nice effect, like it's inside. So I've now got this nice button effect there. Again, you might not like it, but you can change the colours, change the font, however you like. However, I'm going to keep it basic for the video. I think that's alright. I might change the text colour to be white. Okay, that's basically it for the text button. We're now going to do some scripting. So inside this text button, let's say if you've got your own custom button system, you're still going to have this script here. So inside the text button, you need to have this script. Okay, so the first thing we need to put in the script is defining the text button. And so that's script.parent. The next thing we have to get is the checkpoints folder. Now again, that's always needs to be in your workspace. So workspace checkpoints, we're getting this checkpoints folder here. The next thing that we need to do is get the player service, and that's because we need to know the player, the local player. As we see here, what we do is player.localPlayer. And the reason why we're finding this player value is because we want to find the stage leader stat. You know the thing that appears on the top right of the leaderboard? So it'll be like stage and then the number. That's known as a leader stat, and as if it's a stage named one, I'm just going to get the stage leader stat. And we store that in the script in player and then leader stats. So again, the player's leader stats, and then the stage value. The next thing we need to do is something interesting. Now I'll explain more about this in a second. We're now going to get the replicator storage, and that's here. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is something very interesting. We need to insert in replicator storage. We have to go into remote function and insert one of these, and just name it stage. Okay, what this basically does, in Roblox you have a client and a server. This is quite hard to explain. So your client is the player, the thing that's actually moving about your character. So it's basically your device, and you're controlling the character through that device. It's all done on the client level. Now, when communicating, so the actual game is run on the server. Now, the server is secure. People like exploiters can change their client to do some very interesting things, to say the least. So what we're going to be doing is, instead of making it so that exploiters can easily bypass our skip stage system, if you know what we want to do, we're going to make it as secure as possible. The way we do this is remote functions. Basically, they allow communication between your player and the server, and that allows us to regulate when they press. When they press a button, we'll then say to the server they've pressed a button, run the skip stage code, and that then lets them press the the thing that appears on their screen and says, "Do you want to buy this item?" It will let them do that, and if they actually press that, then we'll know instantly, and it will actually skip the stage. If they don't, then it will say, "Don't worry, purchase has failed. You can try again." Again, if you don't use remote event and do this all locally, then you'll have some interesting results, because people would be able to exploit in your game. You don't really have to think about that though, as that's quite advanced scripting. Let's just focus on getting this working. So here's some basic stuff here. What it's saying is we're getting the text button that we got previously up here. Inside this script, we're getting the text button, and we're saying whenever the text button is pressed, we're running this code. And inside of this text, we're basically having a nice debounce system. If you don't know what debounce is, that's absolutely fine. Basically, let's say someone spams the button, How are we going to stop that from happening? We don't want them breaking the system because they spammed it. That's what the point of debounce is for. So what debounce does, I'll show you in just a second. Oh, bit of lag there. Okay, so what debounce does is when they press the skip stage button, what's instantly going to happen, pretty much, is it's going to change it's going to change the text button text to be purchasing. That basically means that it will not be skip stage anymore, which is what we set it to, if you remember, over here. As it's no longer skip stage, it won't run this code anymore, this code in here, which means it won't go any further. I don't know if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. Okay. Yeah, so you know how I was talking about the remote events? Sorry, remote functions over there. This is where we're going to be using it here. So basically we're invoking the server, and that basically means, hey server, they've pressed the button, can you run the skip stage code? And then we're getting the response from the server to this variable here, and then basically all we're going to be doing is just displaying the response. Let's say if, what this bit of code does here, is it basically says, hey, how many stages do you have in your checkpoint system? Let's say if it adds one, then this value is automatically going to change. What it does is it gets a checkpoint folder, it gets the children, and it says how many children are there. In this one, it gets the player's leader stats value, the stage leader stats value, and it says, do they not equal? If they do equal, then they're at the maximum stage, and that means that we don't want them to skip stage anymore, otherwise they're going to be buying something and go into a higher stage, which we don't want. So all we're doing here is we're displaying that error message there. So if you remember what I was talking about the debounce system, this is how it works. So basically, when the person starts off in the game, the text button text is skip stage. When they press the button, it's most likely going to change this text button text to be purchasing, or it's going to change it to either one of these. It's either going to change it to purchasing because they're not at the maximum stage, or it's going to say they're at the maximum stage. And that means that if they press it again, it's going to go no, the text button text does not equal that, so it's going to not run this code at all. Now once this code is finished, let's say if they haven't spammed it and this bit of code has run, once this bit of code finishes here, it will then wait 2 seconds and then reset it back. And that means that as it does now equal skip stage, then they can press it again. Sorry about that bit of long explanation there. There's a lot of information there and it's quite advanced scripting, a lot to get your head around. The next thing we're going to do is our server scripts. So we've now done the actual local script and we're talking about the player being the local thing, the local object, the client. We're now going to be doing the server script, and that's what's receiving the function of this skip stage event. So we've now said we've pressed a button, we now actually have to write the code that receives it. So we're going to go into our checkpoint script here, and that's located in server script service from the last video. The first thing we do is we get the marketplace service, and this basically allows you to sell items in your game. So it's anything like that. So if you want to sell an item, you have to use the marketplace service. I might just copy this bit from our skip stage button script over here. All we're doing now is we're getting that remote event the remote function I was talking to you about skip stage. And we're going to be using that in this code. So we're getting replicated storage, where it's stored at, and we're getting the skip stage. root function. And the next thing we have to do is get our product ID. Now, if you remember, I was talking to you. Actually, I don't think I've talked to you about this so far yet. Roblox has something called developer products. Let me show you here. I think it's in monetization. Here we go. So these are called developer products. So go into game settings and then monetization. And these are called developer products. Basically, they're like game passes. I'm sure you've heard of game passes, where you buy them and you have them for life. The developer products are something where you buy them and then you can buy them again if you want to. So you can buy them unlimited times. Now that's really good actually, because for something like skip stage, you don't want the person to be able to buy it once. You want the person to be able to buy it 10 times, 20 times, 30 times, or just the once, probably most likely. So that means that we have to use developer products for them. So you just press create here and create your own. Just type in the name, the price, it will give you this product ID. I'm going to copy that, press cancel, and there it is, our product ID. So you need to put that there for your one. Now, for some reason, this is very temperamental. It's giving me lots of errors here if I'm using it myself. So normally, I think in configure place or configure game, there's some settings for developer products in there. There's also other videos of how to create developer products as well, if you are struggling. And the next thing we have to do is go inside over here. So just after this player removing function, this is going to be the thing that we receive that server invoke function that we did when they pressed the button. So when we press the button, we invoke the server, and that basically says, "Hi, I've pressed the button." This is the code that receives it. And this is some very complicated scripting. I won't be surprised if you can't follow through this. However, try to, and if you don't, have a look at it after I've completed it, and you'll probably be able to, hopefully, understand some bits. Oh. So what we're doing here is we're basically getting the player's leader stats value, the leader stats folder, sorry, and then we're getting the stage object inside the leader stats folder. Again, I explained about this in the original video if you want to have a look at it. And the next thing we have to do is basically run that is the player at the max stage script again. You know how I was talking about people using exploits in your game? Well, people, the exploiters, can run this code whether they press it with the button or not, because they can just say invoke this without, it's hard to explain. They're basically saying they can basically delete that and just run this on its own, which means you wouldn't have run this line of code here. Basically, exploiters are very bad for your game, and they can do a lot of bad things. So basically, we have to write code like this that tries to do as many things as possible to be able to stop them from exploiting in your game. Now here we're doing some marketplace, marketplace service that we had before. We're basically using that. Prompt product purchase finished. There? No, I can never find this one. There we go. Okay, I've got it. Marketplace service prompt product service finished. Okay, so basically what we're doing here is we're basically saying once the person finishes buying the product, the skip stage product, then they're going to get the results. So either they've purchased it or they have not purchased it. That'll be this variable here, then the player's user ID and the product ID, which will hopefully link up with this. Now here we're doing some checks. We're basically saying, is the player the right player? And it is the product ID, the right product ID, but you might have other developed products in your game. That's why we have this bit here. The next thing we're saying is, did the player actually purchase it? And if so, we need to change the purchase result to success. Afterwards, we're just going to disconnect this function as we're done with it. It's a one-use function. Now I'm going to explain how this all works as a whole in just a second. It's one of them scripts which is very hard to explain on the individual components because the whole system works as one. What this line of code here does is it basically prompts the product purchase. Basically that's the thing that asks the user, would you like to purchase this skip stage thing? If they press yes, then we'll actually perform the transaction and you guys will get the Robux. Okay, this part of the system is now done. So basically what we're doing is basically saying local purchase result equals purchase finish. That's basically saying we're going to be returning that result. So this is very hard to explain. So basically you have the first thing that mainly runs you've got to think about is this prompt product purchase. That basically, again as I explained, it pops up that message saying, do you want to purchase this thing? Then what we're saying is when the player actually finishes the purchase, then we're going to be saying, has the player actually purchased it or have they not? If they have purchased it, change it to success. If not, then it's just going to end this connection, which basically ends this. And then basically what we're doing here is we're saying, if the connection is not connected anymore, which we disconnect it with this bit here, when the player presses either yes or no, then it's going to run this bit of code here, and that's going to disconnect it and basically let this run here, as this won't be true anymore. And this bit here makes it so that if they leave the game, it will also run through. Again, that's very complicated scripting. I'm hoping that you'll be able to get your head around it if I didn't explain it very well, and I'm notorious for that. The next thing is a very interesting Roblox feature. Basically, whenever somebody processes a transaction in your game, they buy something, developer products only, not for game passes, you have to do something called process receipt, and that's basically saying the player has purchased something in your Roblox. Is basically saying the player has purchased something in your game, do something with it. Now the reason why Roblox do this, this is actually quite interesting. Basically, let's say if anything in here errors, and say if it's old code, you're watching this in 2026 or something, and it's old code. There might be some bug with it or something, and it errors for some reason. Then the person isn't actually going to be getting what they paid for. They're not going to be skipping the stage if it errors at all. it's not going to be incrementing their stage value, which basically means the player hasn't got what they paid for. So Roblox fixes this by with this process receipt function, and basically I'll explain it how it works after. Okay. What we're doing here is basically saying, if you've got any other developed products in your game, have they purchased the skip stage one? If not, ignore it. The next thing we're getting is the actual player from the person who has purchased the receipt, who purchased the product. Let's say the player's left the game or something. I don't know why they would after they just purchased something, but let's say they have. Then we're not going to run it at all. The next thing we're going to do is, if they haven't left the game, then we're going to be incrementing their stage by 1, basically giving them the skip stage that they asked for. So basically, if you don't know what this is, basically whenever they press yes, it's going to be running this code here, and it's also going to be running this code. And this is the code that actually gives them the skip stage. However, that doesn't mean that you can just get rid of this. You still need that. What I'm doing here is incrementing the leader stats value. So this isn't actually the leader stats value. This is their current stage value. So basically, our script is very good in regards to exploitivity. So players who've got an exploited client, normally they can just change their leader stats and they'll just be able to skip stage however they like. Now, tons of YouTube's scripting tutorials have that weakness in them. I mean, loads of thousands of them do. Because players can change any leader stats value inside of them. However, we're caching it with the current stage array over here that I explained previously, and that basically secures it best. They cannot change its value, they can only change the leader stats value. Again, I explained more about that in the previous video. Well, I've talked a lot in this video, my mouth is very dry. This video might actually be longer than the original skip stage one, I'm very sorry guys. I'll do this bit as quick as I can and avoid the rant. Here we're basically incrementing their stage value again, their leader stats value. So we've got the cache value change here and the leader stats value change here. The next thing we need to do is actually refresh their character so they're actually at the new stage, because at the moment they've just purchased it at that old stage. We now need to bring the player forward to their new one. Now that's really easy to do, as we already have the new character function already set up over here. So all we do is run that and it teleports them to the new stage. Now this is the point, you're talking about the actual point of the process receipt function. This is the point of it. So basically, whenever they purchase something in Roblox, what you have to do is, with developed products, you have to send one of these back. Purchase granted. And this basically says the player has actually got what they asked for. They have actually incremented their stage, which they have. We've done it all here. We've incremented their stage by 1, we've incremented their leader stats, we've actually brought the player to the new stage. So they have got what they paid for, that's perfect. Let's say for some reason they haven't got what they paid for, let's say there's been an error, then we're changing it to not processed yet. And in the case that this is actually run for whatever reason, then the next time they join the game, it will try and run this process receipt function again, I'm pretty sure, and that basically will run it again. So if they haven't got it, and so there has been an error, then it will run again the next time they join. That should work perfectly now. Let's close that all up and give it a quick test. Cross your fingers that we haven't messed anything up, because that would be very interesting. All good so far. Oh, I've made a slight typo. However, even with that typo, the system still works. The issue with this is, let's have a look. Connection is not a valid member of RBX connection. That probably means that we've made a typo over here with this. Let me just have a quick look. Ah, there we go. Okay. Connection.connected, not connection. There we go. If you have that error, make sure to resolve that in your final script. Okay, I'm not perfect, I do make mistakes, I'm very sorry about that. There we go. As we just saw, it skipped the stage, we can now go to the next one, press skip stage, and it says you have reached the highest stage. The system works perfectly. Thank you guys for watching so much, it's been an absolute pleasure. If you have any questions or want me to explain anything further, or let's say if you've got an issue with the system, make sure to join our Discord server, the link for that is in the description. I hope to see you soon in the next video. Make sure to like and subscribe again. Let's say if you're too lazy to actually code it yourself, then the actual server code for this will be in our Discord server. Again, make sure to join that. One more thing, oops. Make sure to press publish to Roblox before you guys complain about it not working when all you haven't done is published it. That may seem silly to most of you, however some people from the Discord server and say that it doesn't work and then they just haven't published again. Very silly, I know. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.